Well, how about this? It's an audio recording. The reason for this audio recording is just because the intense heat that I've been telling everybody about for months and months and months are finally here. And it's 85 degrees. It rained yesterday, so it's a little bit humid, so it adds on to the 85 degrees, and it feels like 95 outside. But inside of the house, it's 71, but because of the AC being on, it feels like 61, so it feels cold. It actually is nice. So I'm using this opportunity to record the Pit Stop Show in an audio style recording. So whatever you guys are doing right now, you'll be able to listen to this show. And welcome, by the way, to episode 18 of the NASCAR Pit Stop Show. As always, Elijah Leonard with you as the host. If I sound louder than usual, it's because the fans are on. I have one fan that's pointed directly towards the computer, and then the other fan that is up mounted on the ceiling and has been for the last 16, 17 years now, and is on the second, is like on the second level of power or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but that's running. So that's probably why you hear a humming noise in the background. So if that's the case, I do apologize if it messes with the game, because normally the humming sound messes with the game. But anyways, I am not alone for this one. Unfortunately, Wyatt is not here. He said that he is busy all day today. But after a few episode hiatus, after tending to some stuff in his personal bubble, Sean Ard is back.
Woo!
And thank goodness, Sean is finally back. How about that? Man. Wow, that was an awkward start to the show.
Yeah, that was
okay.
Awkward. But yeah, I'm glad. It's good to be back, and perfect time to do it coming out of Dover, going into a track that we're unexperienced with for NASCAR in Circuit of the Americas. I'm really excited to be here for today.
You know, honestly, watching the iRace, the iRacing Pro Invitational Series race, I didn't watch the whole thing, and I couldn't because I don't have FS1. Because I don't have, well, I do have YouTube TV, but I have to be linked to another account in order to watch it. So, therefore, I couldn't watch the entire thing. But I did hear about who won, and that was James Davison. So, huge congratulations to him and the Rick Ware Racing team. Even though that was a virtual race, and the real-life race could play out just a little bit differently. But, then again, James Davison is one of the road course aces, one of the best to ever race on a road course, so it's gonna be okay. And TikTok's going off. Great. Anyways, let's go ahead. Let's get on down to reviewing this Dover weekend. It was just Xfinity and Cup there, and I want to go ahead and I want to get your input, Sean. What did you think about the Dover weekend?
I thought it was just an average Dover weekend. I am gonna say there was one incident in the Xfinity Series race. I just thought that you really don't get to see a lot. When on the backstretch, there was a 3-car incident, and one of the cars was kind of mounted on the other.
Oh, that was, I think it was Matt Jaskell. I think he was driving the 13 car, and he went over, he backed into another car, and that launched his car right up on top of another one. So,
yeah,
you don't really see those kinds of wrecks at Dover anymore. I mean, at least nowadays. I mean, you hardly see them. But to see that, it's just like an oh wow moment, or like an oh you know what moment, you know?
Yeah, that's why I thought that was kind of interesting. So,
yeah. I mean,
but besides,
what were you gonna keep going? I cut you off. My bad.
I was just thinking. Besides that, it was a really good race weekend, and I think we just had one of those normal, slow sort of weekends at Dover.
It was just a very calm weekend, I'd have to say, from everything that we've seen, and just vice versa. One thing that I kind of found unexpected about the weekend was Alex Bowman, man. How about that? He gets his second win of the season. So this is his first season in the Cup Series where he's had more than one win. And of all the cars that he does this in, he does this in the 48 car, which has he has just an enormous amount of history on the Monster Mile. 10 wins, 11 wins with Jimmy Johnson. One of those of which being his last win. So, I want to ask you, just like, since we've seen the number 48 win at Dover for the first time in 4 years, do you really think that Alex Bowman can pick up where Jimmy Johnson left off with his Dover wins back in 2017?
I think this is a good start. I'm not going to say he's going to go straight on in and start winning 11 races like Jimmy did. It'll take some time. But this is a good start for Alex Bowman there at Dover.
This, honestly, I mean, not just at Dover, but I think this is his best season yet. Because he's performed better than he ever has with the 88, and that's not to discredit his racing time, his time racing the 88. He did good. I just feel like ever since switching to the 48, like there was a flip that switched, and all of a sudden Alex Bowman really started making some noise. I mean, he was calm, he was consistent. I mean, he got some top 5s, he has some top 10s. Now he has 2 wins under his belt this year. So now he could be a championship contender, and that's the key word right here, could. Because I think we're just a little over a third of the way through the regular season. So we still have some time left over. A few other races left over to see what not Chase Elliott, but we still have yet to see Chase Elliott win. But regarding Alex Bowman, we still have yet to see if he's actually gonna rack up a few more wins and actually put together some really good performances and good finishes going into the chase, or as other people will call it nowadays, the playoffs, in quotes, and see what kind of performance he puts on when it gets down to chase time.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to just say this now. You said he might go for more wins. Only time could tell for Bowman, but I think there's a lot more opportunities for him, especially with some of the threats that we got in the later part of the regular season.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's give our grades for this Dover weekend. And Sean, if you could give this grade a weekend. That's really good English right there. But if you could give this grade, I did it again. If you could give this weekend, there we go, third time's a charm. If you could give this weekend a grade ranging from A to F, what would it be and why?
Okay, I'm going to start off with the why reason. I think it was just a normal sort of weekend there at Dover. Nothing too chaotic as we have seen in the past. But the track still lives up to what it is, a good concrete track. So the grade I would give it for the weekend is an A.
All right. I can definitely see that for sure, because, I think personally, just this racing at Dover, it's not generally the same as it once used to be. I mean, because mainly a part of it has to do with, just some of the wrecks that we've seen. Is like we've had, like, back in 2008, we had one wreck with Elliott Sadler and David Gilliland that ultimately turned into like a 9-10 car jam session in on I-95 on the back straightaway. You can just ask Denny Hamlin. He flew right into that thing. 2012, it was kind of a similar situation with some of the lower funded cars, and now this year we saw 3 cars get together on the back straightaway, and Matt Jaskell's car, who I think he was driving the 13, as I probably had mentioned before, he goes on top of 2 other cars. So almost landing on top of the safer barrier in the process of landing on top of 2 other cars. So I would give this like a B minus, mainly just because it was relatively calm. Not a huge amount happened, but I would go ahead and say that probably just because of that wreck. And I'm not biased about the wreck making the grade a little bit better. I'm just saying that because like you rarely see that nowadays. Other than the most recent of which that I totally blew over my head was that Jimmy Johnson's last win on that restart where Ty Dillon gets squirrely on the back straightaway and starts a huge wreck going into turn 3. So I definitely say I'd give this weekend an A minus at best, mainly just because of the way that the Xfinity race kind of played out. Especially with that wreck that happened on the back straightaway. Alrighty. So when we come back, we're going to go ahead and go through some of these topics that we've got laid out for you this weekend. So stick around, folks. We'll be right back. I wasn't expecting Paul Menard to return, number 1, but also number 2, I wasn't expecting him to return for a truck race. But also number 3, I was not expecting him to drive for ThorSport as for a 5th truck, a number 66 truck that does not have any Menard's sponsorship on it. I'm just shocked by that. Sean, were you shocked about this?
Yeah, I'm shocked about that. It's weird to see Menard come back in the Truck Series, especially at a track that not really NASCAR drivers know. This is going to be interesting to see how he'll do, but he's probably going to be someone that people are going to be watching when they race on Saturday.
Oh yeah, this is also a track that that all these other drivers that competed in the Pro Invitational race, they've gotten a small taste of what COTA is going to be like. Especially some of the drivers that have definitely have had a fun time racing at COTA, especially James Davison, or especially somebody like Boyer or Logano, since Boyer's going to be calling the race. So,
and I'm also going to say this: they're also going to get practice at qualifying, so they'll also get more time to understand the track.
Well, that's good. That's actually really good. I'm glad that NASCAR is actually going to do that for them. So, another road course that came to mind, somebody had actually made a tweet about this and asked the question, NASCAR at Laguna Seca. Now, I also found this out today while I was scrolling through some Instagram posts, that this is not the first time that NASCAR has been to Laguna Seca. They've been there back in the late 90s when the West Series, back then I think it was the Winston West Series, went there and they raced at Laguna Seca. They ran there 8 times, 8 races there, and then they just basically kind of just up and left. So to get your input on this, and I'm not sure if this is possible, but then again, never say never. Do you think NASCAR has another chance of going to Laguna Seca at some point in the future?
That's kind of tricky to understand that, since they did go back then. But don't forget, if they would go to Laguna Seca, that would be their second road course in the state of California, since they also go to Sonoma. So
Yeah.
if they would think about adding Laguna Seca as another road course, with how the next gen car that they would be having, it might be the idea to use that track, but it's gonna kind of be iffy on if NASCAR wants to make an attempt.
It's, I don't know, I don't know about Laguna Seca, because I've even had an opportunity to drive on it in our 2003, and I know it's not the same as real life. Trust me. But the thing is, it's just, my big concern mainly is just going downhill. You know that turn where you go up the hill and then all of a sudden it's a heavy braking zone. Then you turn left down the hill and then you turn back to the right, and it's just it's kind of like a blind corner in some way, mainly just because it's downhill and it's a sharp turn to the left and another sharp turn to the right as you're going downhill. So it's oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to kind of say, it's like one of those sweeping sort of turns that's always kind of confusing on how you're going to be able to run that sort of.
And I mean, nowadays, I kind of feel like that NASCAR at Laguna Seca is unheard of nowadays. Mainly just because it's been almost 30 years. Almost 30 years since NASCAR has been there, so it's gonna be interesting to see what their decision may be, if should they end up get into discussion about this. So we're just gonna have to keep our eyes open when it comes to NASCAR possibly going back to Laguna Seca, maybe with the top 3 series trucks Xfinity Cup, or maybe with the possibly maybe the ARCA West Series. I don't know. Another topic, as while we're still on the topic of tracks, it was just announced a few days ago, $30 million, thanks to the governor of North Carolina, will be going. That $30 million bucks will be going into repairing North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, and Charlotte. I kind of was like, wait, what repairs need to be made on that track? But as far as North Wilkesboro and Rockingham, 100%. Because those tracks have not been used. North Wilkesboro hasn't been used since '96. I mean, when it comes to the active schedule, as an active track in NASCAR, and same can go for Rockingham, because they haven't been to Rockingham in almost 10 years, and I'm specifically talking about in recent history, because the Truck Series had recently been there in 2012. In 2013, 2013 was the last time that Rockingham Speedway was ever used. Just to clarify that. And as far as North Wilkesboro, the last time that racetrack was ever on the schedule was back in 1996. Jeff Gordon was the very last winner. But Charlotte, I'm not sure why $30 million is going to go into repairing that track. I don't see what needs to be repaired there. Have you heard about what kind of repairs need to be made at Charlotte?
No, I have no idea why they need to repair Charlotte. If they're trying to change something with the track, nothing needs to be done with the track, as I think.
Not a whole lot needs to be done with it. I mean, there's already safer barrier all the way around the racetrack, inside and outside walls. I don't know if you'd want to like make adjustments to the grandstands, like take some out or add some on, or do you?
Well, they might add some more, since I think they were trying to do that in like turn 3 and 4 on the oval.
I think they did that once. I think they had some grandstand in turn 4. I think they still do. But maybe add some grandstand in turn 3, maybe? I'm not 100% sure there. But North Wilkesboro and Rockingham, definitely 100%. Those two tracks, if they are ever going to have a chance to get back on the schedule, they will absolutely need to be repaired. Like new surface, safer barriers, new grandstands, new skybox, new pit road, new everything on both tracks. I mean, Rockingham already has safer barriers. They already have. That track already has it. They just need to add it all the way around the racetrack, inside and on the in and outside walls. Mainly on the straightaways when it comes to Rockingham. They already have it in the turns.
Yeah, and they probably... So it's like those two. Definitely, because they haven't been used in so long in the NASCAR circuit that they have become mostly something that has been forgotten for the past.
Oh, yeah. Because you remember the pictures that I kind of showed off when it came on a old Hot Take episode last year when I was talking about Rockingham? The grass on the front stretch, it was about yay high. There was grass growing through the pavement on that racetrack, and just it looked so old. It looked so deserted. It looked so abandoned, and it didn't look good. It looked like an abandoned ghost town, and that's the same for North Wilkesboro. I watched this about a long time ago. Somebody did it like a mini documentary on North Wilkesboro Speedway. It wasn't like on History Channel or A&E or ABC or whatnot. No, this was a very low budget documentary, in quotes, that was made by a YouTuber. I think he was the Save the North Wilkesboro Speedway guy, because he's very, from my understanding, he's very, very passionate about short track racing. He's very, very passionate about North Wilkesboro, and he is one of those people that have been pushing NASCAR to try to make repairs to the racetrack and get it back on the schedule. And 10 years later, they're finally gonna do something about tracks like North Wilkesboro, because NASCAR was not built around 1.5-mile tracks or 2-mile tracks. It was built on short tracks and dirt tracks. This year, we have, we have 2 dirt tracks all together when it comes to all 3 of the National Touring Series. You got trucks that are going to be going to Knoxville later on. Trucks and Cup were both on the dirt at Bristol. And, you got some short tracks in there. Martinsville, Bristol, the paved Bristol. Richmond, Iowa's not on the schedule anymore when it comes to Xfinity and trucks. I don't think it's been on Cup. It's been talked about, but it's yet to get on the Cup schedule, I think. Let's see. Man. But you get what I mean. NASCAR was built on short tracks and dirt tracks. But now in the modern day, we're starting to see a lot of road courses. A lot of road courses. Road America's on the schedule. COTA, they're going to COTA here in just a few. They're going to be racing at COTA, actually, by the time that this episode drops, tomorrow. There's Watkins Glen that has been on the schedule forever. Sonoma's been on the schedule forever. Mosport. NASCAR, the Truck Series had gone to Mosport. I didn't see Mosport on the schedule this year. For this year at least. I didn't see it, but I think they're going there. I have no clue. So, yeah.
I have no idea about that.
I don't know about that either. But still, we're starting to see... Oh, Roval. That's another one. Roval's on the schedule for Xfinity and Cup. But yeah, you're seeing a lot more road courses. Daytona road course. That just now popped into my head. But no, you're starting to see you're starting to see more and more road courses pop up on the schedule. And although road courses do provide some really good action, that's not what the sport was built on. The sport was built on short tracks and dirt tracks. End of story. Case closed.
Yep.
But no, as far as North Wilkesboro and Rockingham and Charlotte, especially North Wilkesboro and Rockingham getting repaired, with $30 million worth of repairs going into those two tracks in particular, I think that's a really good thing. I think this is actually a step towards the right direction in bringing those tracks possibly back onto the schedule at some point in the future. Okay, let's move on to the two teams, these two brand new teams that have just come up in this year, actually. I think a lot quicker than any other team that we've ever seen in a long time. 2311 at Trackhouse. Daniel Suarez for Trackhouse had recorded a 9th place finish for the team, making this, if I'm not mistaken, Trackhouse's best finish so far this year. Bubba Wallace for 2311 had posted 2311's newest best finish of 11th. So these two teams are just about the same when it comes to improvement, and they're slowly starting to get up there and challenge for top 10s, especially Trackhouse. Trackhouse, I feel like, is just one step ahead of 2311. So, with the improvement of these two teams, Sean, do you think we're going to see any of these two teams possibly go for wins by the end of the year or into 2022?
Definitely. I would see these two teams maybe before the end of the 2022 season up there near the front at all the tracks, going for victories, maybe trying to get into the playoffs even.
Yeah. I do believe, I don't think I've seen either of them above the cutoff line last I checked, but they're getting there slowly but surely, especially Trackhouse. I still have a lot of faith in Trackhouse. 2311 is still kind of iffy right now, but Trackhouse definitely, I feel like, has a better chance right now. And last but not least, oh boy, this recently has been the talk of the town. So if you remember last year, we broke the news that Brad Keselowski got signed to a 1-year extension. After this year, his contract expires, which I still kind of think is bogus, that he got signed to a 1-year deal. But aside that, Brad Keselowski, there was some talk out there that he was offered part ownership of Roush Fenway Racing. So, this by far has to be one of the most unexpected things to ever come up this year. With Roush offering Keselowski part ownership of the team for 2022 and beyond, however long Keselowski would be there if these plans were to go through. Sean, any thoughts on this at all?
I'm kind of thinking why that would happen, because Keselowski, most people have known him for being part of Penske Racing since around the start of the 2010s. Yeah. And he's been really good with that team. So I somehow just don't see that happening. But you know what? It's been one of the most interesting talks. And when I even first heard the news, I I was a little like shocked to know that Brad Keselowski could be a part owner of Roush Fenway.
You know, that's just so weird hearing those words. Brad Keselowski offered partial ownership to Roush Fenway Racing. In some sense, actually, this makes a little bit of sense. Because you remember, in the Truck Series, he was a team owner. Brad Keselowski Racing owned 2 trucks. They did relatively good. They didn't win a whole lot. He didn't get a lot of wins as a team owner. Oh, well, he mainly got one for himself. I mean, that's currently his only win in the Truck Series. But still, I mean, he got one for his own team, and that's really cool. And then Joey Logano added on to that list, and then Tyler Reddick added on, and then Chase Briscoe added on. Austin Cindric also added on. So that's about 5 wins for Brad Keselowski Racing. Or no, 6 actually. 6, 7. That's a lie. No, wait. No, that's not a lie. Because it was Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, and Chase Briscoe. 5 winners. 5 winners for the team. Right there. Or wait. I don't think I remember Ryan Blaney winning anything. I think Ryan Blaney won for Brad Keselowski Racing. I think he did. I can't remember. And you know what? Oh well.
Yeah.
He drove for the team anyway, so I'm just gonna add him onto the list anyway. But you get the gist of what I'm trying to say, though, because although Brad Keselowski Racing was not the most successful team in the Truck Series, they were always the talk of the town. Primarily because they were bringing up young talent up to the ranks, preparing them for the Xfinity Series, and if they were going up to the Cup Series, prepare them on their way up to the Cup Series, and just, you know, it was, I mean, and Brad Keselowski was really a good help in that process. I mean, especially as an owner driver for the team, even though he was a driver for his own team at times. So, I mean, in some case, it makes a little bit of sense because he could transition into this co-owner / driver role at Roush, and maybe it could help the team because he can provide insight for the team and really help it in such a way to where they could possibly get back into victory lane more than twice. I mean, that's just something that I'm thinking. I mean, I know somebody said that if this happens, they're not going to be happy. But we don't know if this is true or not, and if it is true, I don't think anybody has ever given this a chance yet. So, just give it a chance. If this ends up becoming true, and just wait and see what's gonna happen when Brad Keselowski goes over there as a part owner and / driver and makes things happen. You know, I mean, like I said, for now, we don't know if this is true yet, so we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, and really, as we get into the later part of the season, we'll probably hear if this becomes true, especially when we get into the off season, if that's the case.
Okay, so we have gone through all of the topics that we have for you. So coming up next, we'll be previewing COTA, the inaugural weekend at the Circuit of the Americas. So don't go away, folks. Stick around. We'll be right back. time that these drivers are going to be going to COTA. I mean, for trucks, Xfinity, Cup, all across all three National Touring Series. We saw a preview of what could be of what could be the case for as far as the racing is concerned for the Cup Series, but that was just iRacing. That was virtual reality in some sense. But in real life, what do you think we're gonna see?
It's going to be really interesting, especially for this track being 20 turns long and a lot of unique obstacles in each corner. It's gonna have a lot of excitement, and I think it's not gonna be determined until the last lap of this race. So it's kind of like that feel of a super speedway race because you never know what could happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can never know. You'll never know what could happen. I mean, road courses do have that mystery of who could run up there, who could have the best opportunity of running up there. At the front of the field. So, you know, it's right now everything's just kind of unknown on how this weekend's going to go. It could be kind of like the Roval, where, you know, there was just so many unexpected things that had happened at the Roval. I mean, back in 2018. But this is 2021, and we're going to an actual road course that does not need any sort of modifications to the actual oval itself whatsoever, because COTA is not an oval. It's a road course. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
It's a long road course, and if nobody's really ever experienced that track before, it's kind of something that is never known, but has been able to provide great racing.
Oh, yeah. Alright, so you saw your point standings on your screen. Hopefully they are concurrent by the time that this episode drops, because I've been falling behind on points. So do bear with me on that one. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to give you our predictions. It's time to get to that point where the uncertainty and the very, very difficult choices come into play for this inaugural weekend at COTA. We give you a driver who we think is going to win. I don't really need to explain that. Driver to stay away from is the driver that hasn't really been doing good the last couple of races. Dark horse, the exact opposite. 1 point per category, but this weekend, since it's a inaugural weekend, it's going to be a double points weekend, so it's going to be 2 points per category. Correct.
Ooh.
So, Sean Ard, you are up first.
All right, so luckily I had the advantage of already having my pits set up to go, so I'm just going to go right on in. So starting off in the Truck Series, driver to win the race, I have Austin Hill.
Wow, Austin Hill, out of nowhere.
I think Austin Hill has been able to do very well on tracks, and I think he might be able to do well on this sort of track. But now we go into the driver to stay away from, and I have Matt Crafton.
Ooh.
And really, I think he hasn't had a bunch of good success with road courses. So I think this might be something that just won't go so well. But now into the dark horse pick, I got Stuart Friesen.
That's interesting.
And I think going for Stuart Friesen, I think he might have. I don't know if he's had some bad luck recently, but I think he could probably do well on this road course.
Oh yeah.
Now over into the Xfinity Series, and I think if you haven't known, for me, I always like to steal people's methods, and I'm taking Taylor's method first. So we're going to go off to the driver to stay away from, and I'm choosing Justin Haley because I haven't seen him really as a road course guy. Really. Yeah. I mostly expect him to do well with the like super speedways and those other tracks. Not really.
Yeah.
Dark horse, though, I'm choosing Jeremy Clements.
Clements out of nowhere. Okay.
He is a road. I believe he's a road course ringer, and he has won on the road course before. Believe it or not. So that's why I got him for the dark horse. But the driver who I think will win in the Xfinity Series, I have AJ Allmendinger.
It's actually a good one. That's a good one right there.
And I think he might have had some experience with this track, so that's kind of why I also choose him. Now let's go up to the Cup hits, and I'm taking Wyatt's method. I don't even know what's the number that I have to pay Wyatt.
Well, I mean, if Wyatt sees this, he's gonna have his calculator ready. And he'll definitely crunch those numbers and get back to you.
Yeah, he'll probably somewhere on the bottom put how much I owe him. But first up in Cup, my dark horse pick, I'm choosing Martin Truex Jr.
It's a good one to start off on.
The driver to stay away from, I got Ryan Blaney.
Ooh.
Because, again, Blaney, even though he won the inaugural race at the Roval, I think just something like this, like a real road course, is not his best.
Yes.
But the driver who I think will win, I got Elliott. And he's it's again going to the road course ringers sorts of things.
Yeah.
I think since we get practice in qualifying, Elliott's going to have more time to understand the track, so it's going to be pretty easy for him to get it.
Yeah. Alrighty. It's my turn. It's my turn for this one. Alright. So here we go for my predictions for the Truck Series. This is kind of very, very unknown because you have no idea who could do good. I mean, this goes across all three series. I mean, you have no idea who's going to be a guy that will definitely get up there and make a lot of noise and who isn't. So, for my driver to win, I'm just going to say Ben Rhodes. Because if you remember, the first road course race of the year for the Truck Series, he wound up winning. So, I'm just going to say, for this one, not Sheldon Creed. I'll get to him in a minute. But, Ben Rhodes is my driver to win. My driver to stay away from, this is also, I mean, this is kind of, I don't know. I mean, this is more so just kind of a question mark. This is another question mark that I have in mind. But I'm just going to say, for my driver to stay away from, I think I'm going to go ahead and say possibly, I probably may have to say Tanner Gray is the driver to stay away from. Tanner Gray is, I mean, once again, he's proven it this year. I mean, he proved it last year, but he's proven it again this year. He's just kind of had an up and down sort of year. I mean, he's had, like I said, he's had some ups this year, but he's also had some downs, and I'm not sure that COTA is going to be a good up for him. I think it's going to be a pretty bad down. Dark Horse, on the other hand, I'm going to choose, let's see, I had him. Well, I mentioned him before. Sheldon Creed's my dark horse. Because if you remember, the inaugural truck race on the Daytona Road Course, he wound up winning that. So, for COTA, I mean, I don't know if he'll win, but I think he'll do good. But if he does win, great. More points for me.
Yep.
Xfinity. This one I think is more straightforward. No brainer. Driver to win. AJ Allmendinger. because let's face it, he's a road course ringer. He's one of the very best to get behind the wheel of maybe whether it be an IMSA car, Indy car, stock car, you name it. He's going to put his foot to the floor. I was trying to get the word out, but I couldn't for some reason. But he's going to put his foot to the floor on anything that he drives on a road course, and I think COTA is going to be no different. COTA is going to be the place where AJ Allmendinger goes to victory lane again and becomes the first ever Xfinity Series winner on COTA. Driver to stay away from. Man, this is also kind of tough. This is tough, but I'm going to say for my driver to stay away from, maybe I'm just going to have to say, I'm going to do this, Jim, and I hate to, but Riley Herbst, my driver to stay away from. That one is a little bit more expected than any other one, because I think this is the most that I've ever chosen. I think this is the Riley Herbst is probably one of the driver that I've chosen as the driver to stay away from the most, because he's had some good moments in this season. He's had some good finishes. Not as much as last year, though, but he's had some good finishes. He's had his moments this season, but just they haven't been all that good this year. And COTA, not going to be any different for Riley Herbst, because if you remember, earlier in the season on a road course, he wound up wrecking, coming to the end of stage 1 when Allmendinger and Cindric had that little fiasco coming to the line to complete the first stage, and Riley Herbst somehow got involved with that little spiel by getting into the grass and wounding up ending his day in the process. So Herbst, my driver to stay away from, done deal right there. Dark horse, speaking of, Austin Cindric's my dark horse. He's another guy that I think could wound up doing good or either winning at COTA, because, you know, he's proven to be really good on the road courses. He proved that in 2019, winning at Watkins Glen and also winning at Mid-Ohio. He's also won, he's won the Daytona road course. That's the other road course I was trying to get out of the top of my head, but I couldn't for some reason, which is really weird. But yeah, he's done really good. I mean, he's also come close to winning the Indianapolis road course. I mean, he finished second there. And I'm not sure what's happening here, but I'm getting a Discord call, but not right now. Not right now. But anyways, so sorry for that interruption. Austin Cindric's my dark horse. So for Cup, this is also going to be, I think this will be just a little bit more difficult. But I'm going to say for my driver to win, man, I'm probably just going to have to say Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's going to be my driver to win, because, you know, he has proven on the first inaugural road course of the 2020s, the Daytona road course for the Cup Series, he wound up winning that one. And then this year I think he'll definitely get it done when it comes to COTA. So I think Chase Elliott's going to be my driver to win. Driver to stay away from, you know, this also is kind of tough. This is also kind of tough, but I'm just going to say Chase Briscoe's the driver to stay away from. He did not have any good luck on the road course at the Daytona road course this year, because if that's going to be the case, if that was the case at Daytona, then it probably is not going to be the case at COTA, so he's my driver to stay away from. Dark horse, pretty easy. AJ Allmendinger is going to be my dark horse. He may win. He could possibly win, but then again, probably not. He may not have the best equipment to do it when it comes to the Cup Series with Colleague Racing, but he does have the talent and the charisma to get up there and challenge for possibly a top 5, top 10. The possibilities are there. Alrighty. So, Sean, we've come to the conclusion. We've come to the end of the road. Any final words before we get the COTA weekend underway?
I think that's mostly it. I can't wait for COTA. It's probably gonna be unpredictable, but the good kind of unpredictable, unlike what we had earlier in the season with Bristol Dirt.
Yeah.
But this is the type of unpredictable that fans are wanting to watch.
Oh, I can definitely agree to that one. And COTA definitely is going to be a very exciting weekend. So hopefully you guys enjoy that weekend. I may not be able to watch it because of it's on cable. But I will definitely be keeping my eyes on what goes on in that race, especially when it comes to highlights and just how the drivers handled the track and vice versa. And with that, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to cap off episode 18 and say thank you guys a lot for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you have not considered subscribing yet, I recommend you do so to keep up with some fine content coming out in the near future. And that about does it for me. On behalf of Sean Ard, I'm Elijah Leonard, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.